think the biggest change has been in ideology. Participation in the early days was power to the people, which was threatening for government and all sorts of other professional organizations. What has emerged is the discussion away from just community participation to stakeholder participation. And so the idea that, of course, all those who have a stake in any program need to be involved in making decisions, which leads us to the idea of creating partnerships, which are all about not just friendships, but about collaborating with others in order to achieve a common goal. Well, where it's too much is where you pretend to be engaging people in participation when you know actually the decision's already been made. And so in most participatory programs, you need to set the rules out of what is negotiable and what isn't. And certain things are not negotiable because they are urban in scale and they are part of the urban structure of place, infrastructure or whatever else. What is complex is understanding and trying to figure out who to work with as stakeholders. And when we start doing things like stakeholder analysis, who are the primary stakeholders? Who is the client for that matter? I mean, when we work in development, I've got one party that my money comes from, that's being channeled through a government authority. Are they the client? No, but they're working with a non-government organization. Are they the client? Non-government organizations working with communities, but what community? There are 4 or 5 different categories of community, and some of them are in conflict with each other. And yet they're all present in any one place that we're working. And we don't have enough discussion of who is this client. In conventional education, the client is usually someone who's usually male, got the money, on your side, got the site, articulate. Right, let's get him out the way, now I can start designing. I'm out there and I can't even find the client half the time. Well, I think one's got to engage with their priorities. I think it's an ownership, what I call the ownership of the problem and not just of the solution. We talk about the importance of owning solutions because with that they can be sustained. People have a vested interest to keep it going and scale it up and so on. But we don't very often talk about ownership of the problem. And no participation will work if you bring in the problem and you say, right, this is going to be a new housing project and we want you all to participate. And people are sitting there going, well, actually housing isn't really our problem, it's unemployment. So they will work with you for a bit because it's better, it's the best out of a bad set of alternatives. It's better to get something rather than nothing. But you can't sustain that, so there's no real engagement in that sense. I think it's fantastic in a number of respects. First of all, the backgrounds of the students in terms of disciplines. Secondly, the international profile of the students, which is fantastic because when we're doing a lot of group work, as I do in my classes, one encourages the application of those differences, those cultural backgrounds that express themselves in differences. And that is absolutely central to all development work. We were talking, for example, about ethics and whether there are universal ideals that we can pursue. And there are, but the application of those ideals will vary from country to country. I suppose not to worry about the conventional old-day definitions of where you sit in terms of your ideals. In the old days, I was a bottom-up architect. I worked with communities. Or I'm a top-down architect. Or I work with the formal sector, informal sector, large organizations, small organizations. The truth is that most reality, ultimately, is in between those different positions that we used to align ourselves with. And certainly for development practitioners, whatever your background, that is where we need to stand, somewhere in between those worlds, and converge those worlds to the interests and to the benefits of the people that we're working for.